Aloha, welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa, and this episode features an interview with the one and only NAMM, one of the great ukulele online retailers who does a really nice job making sure that the ukuleles that she sells go out with a full setup. And we had a really interesting discussion talking about some of the details of being a retailer and the considerations that she has to make in order to stay on top of things and provide the best quality service possible. Those of you who follow me know that I am a little bit more of a realist ukulele instructor, or that's how I fancy myself. There are a lot of people who will tell you how to impress your friends in 10 minutes, how to learn XYZ pop song, how to do all this easy stuff. And a lot of ukulele culture in the current era is rooted in the ease of the instrument, which is great. It's very inclusive and it is accessible for people who maybe don't have the time to sit and practice. But for me, my enthusiasm really comes out when I meet somebody who is dedicated to the process and the discipline of learning the ukulele as a serious musical instrument. And so I put together a resource for these folks over the past couple of weeks. It's available for free. If you go to liveukulele.com/fretboard, you can register, and it's called Fretboard Mastery for Ukulele. And what this is basically my view of the fretboard and how I practice and how I feel that I have gotten the most out of knowing how to get around the fretboard, like how I have made my fingers comfortable to play the things that I play. So I'm a little bit biased, but this is kind of like a practice regimen that I think people who are maybe like intermediate players who want to be better, who aren't sure what the next steps are, you might as well be practicing, and this is what I would work on. It includes 10 videos where I walk you through the different styles of exercises, and you use that instruction in conjunction with tab examples so you can see the patterns and how your fingers work through them. And then you can also download my PDF scales collection so you can visualize the fretboard charts to know exactly where your fingers need to go. But the idea is that you're playing through scales using sequences, and these sequences teach you to play through the scales in a way that is not in order. So you're not always playing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's not how music works. So your fingers need to be drilled and forced to play out of order of that scale. Like people say, learn your scales, and that has nothing to do with the real world. Knowing where those notes are on the fretboard so that you can play them is good information. But if your fingers aren't sure how to get to them at the drop of a hat, when you need to play that note or you want to play that note, you're going to feel really stuck. So the intention of these exercises is to loosen up your fingers and to give you the ability to build the skill needed to jump to any note within the scale pattern for a given key. So it's a ton of content. It's not so much a ton of content to digest or to watch through the videos, but it's basically an outline for 3, 4, 5 years worth of dedicated practice. And not necessarily that you have to do this, but it's just kind of a roadmap for folks who want to know the fretboard better. And if you want to go beyond this fretboard mastery, it kind of rolls right into my left-hand technique course, which is a premium course. Fretboard mastery is free, but if you want to support the work that I do, jumping up to left-hand technique is a great way to expand upon those concepts, and I dig into them a little bit deeper and spend more time on them talking about moving about the fretboard. Anyways, if you want to register and check it out, liveukulele.com/fretboard is how you can download all of the handouts, and also you get access to all the videos. Otherwise, I'm going to be kind of slow dripping them on YouTube, spaced a week apart. So if you want to see all the videos now instead of waiting for 10 weeks, register liveukulele.com/fretboard. Also coming up later in the month, I am going to be releasing my plug-in ebook So if you are interested in how to amplify your ukulele and get a great sound out of your gear, or how to decide what gear you need to get a great sound, this is going to be a very in-depth guide for folks who are interested in kind of taking their ukulele to a live sound setting, or just practicing in your bedroom with an amp or something like that. But really with the intention of bringing information to you that will be helpful, like if you were to go to an open mic. What do you need to bring in order to interface with their gear? Or maybe you want to start busking or playing some gigs. What kind of a sound system do you need, from your ukulele pickup to a preamp to your mixer to your PA speakers? It's kind of like the need to know stuff without hopefully too much extra information. It's very detailed. It's almost 100 pages. But I tried to not go off in the weeds of like running live sound and all the nitty-gritty details. There are lots of guidebooks that talk about that, and if you want to be really nerdy about it, you could dive into that to learn a lot more. But trying to keep it very ukulele specific, just like the need to know stuff that will really get you into trouble or keep you out of trouble. And I just am trying to share that up front for those who are interested. It's called Plug In, and it should be available at the end of the month. Be sure to subscribe to my newsletter, liveukulele.com/sign up. That is the best way to stay in touch and the best way to get some intel on that when it comes out, if you are so interested. Okay, let's get into the conversation with Mim. You can check out mimsukes.com to see the items that she has on offer, learn more about it, and please enjoy, give a follow, give a shout out, all that good stuff, and let's support these retailers and folks in the community who really are kind of just driven to provide exceptional customer service, because that's what we really need. We want to have that. So put your money where your mouth is, and next time you need to buy an ukulele, consider MIM or one of the other retailers that specifically put that effort forward for you, the customer, instead of buying from Amazon or any other big box store. Cool. Well, thanks so much for taking the time and being here. I'm Brad. We've never met before because I hide out in Hawaii and I don't go to NAMM and all the fun stuff. So,
well, I haven't been since before COVID. So, yeah, I need to get back. I was going to go this year, but we got an opportunity to do a family trip, so I'm going to do that instead.
Nice. Well, that's cool. Yeah. What is NAMM like? I've never been.
It's good. I like it. It's very businessy for me. So when I first went, it was like a lot of fun because it was like connecting with people that only knew through Ukulele Underground, when Ukulele Underground was more of a thread thing back in the day. And we would hang out and we would jam, and there was just this neat community around it. But then it got to where a lot of retailers didn't need to go anymore, and it ended up becoming more of a like influencer type friendly setup. So which isn't bad, but when you're there to do business, it makes it really hard because like I'm trying to do business and then pulled away to do like more like video-y type stuff. I mean, which is fine, but I feel like a lot of my initial crew ended up stop going, like Aldrine and Aaron and Kahai, all the initial Ukulele Underground boys, they no longer needed to go. Some brands are there, some brands aren't. So it's fun. It's overwhelming. It's really great to see everybody who is there. It just feels a little different than it used to be. There used to be a little bit more of a different energy there that I thought was a little bit more exciting. Either that, or I've just been doing this so long that it's not as new anymore. It could be that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it, if you don't mind.
All right.
You have your ukulele retail business and you're known for your setups. Just to kind of onboard the listeners, can you share why they need a setup on their ukulele?
I would never want a ukulele. I know how to say it. I know how to say Hawaiian way. I'm a mainland girl. But I would never want one right out of the box. I've always been a handy gal. And when I started offering ukuleles, like I did not like know anything about setup for just a few months, but there was always problems with the ukuleles, and then a few different people trained me, and then a lot of my skills come from hard knocks. But if I got one right out of the box, I wouldn't be happy with the complete quality of it. A lot of factories make them so that they have higher action, which is your string height above the fretboard. They err on the nut being a little higher because they're not going to take the time to do that last little bit of fine tuning that you'd want. And they air higher because it's going to go through different temperatures. So you're going to go, depending on where it's coming from, but it's going to come from, sometimes China to California to me. It could go from China to Virginia, another warehouse to me. They air on the higher side so that like, it also hides a lot of errors as well on the lower end instruments. To be completely honest, if you've got higher action, what really takes a lot of time is like leveling the frets out. So if you have higher action, you aren't going to, when somebody first tries out a ukulele, it's not going to buzz because the action is so high. And then a lot of times people quit because they're like, I can't really play. My fingers hurt. And it's really because that string height is too high, but it's because it hides things like twisted necks, back bent necks, unlevel frets, just a myriad of concerns. There was even one company, and I will not say who, I will not name names unless I'm complimenting a company. But you would find these big, thick plastic shims under the saddle. And I knew, gosh, once I found those, like the action would be hecka high. And then I'd pull the saddle out and I would see this big shim. And I was like, I know these frets are a hot mess and that there's something wrong with the neck. And it never failed. There's either a backbowed neck or a bunch of high frets. And instead of fixing that, they just put a big shim underneath. So the thing is, I mean, you're welcome to order from like big companies like Amazon and things like that. They're going to take a box off the shelf, or even a robot's going to bring it to the packer. They're going to put it in a box and they're going to send it to you. But you're not going to have that fine tuning that you really need. To be successful, but also to be happy with your instrument. And that can be everything from a beginner instrument to even some high-end instruments as well. So it's an extra service I do, but it's because I want you to have a proper instrument, because I don't want you to quit or not become a music maker because your ukulele is impossible to play due to the setup. Or I've had people come up to me and go, my uke's buzzy, but my teacher says my hand placement's wrong. And their hand placement isn't wrong. It's because there's like a high third or fourth fret. And so they're doing a C and it's buzzing. And they go, well, I'm just not pressing hard enough. So then they press harder. And then they end up quitting because their hands hurt, or they just feel like it's them. But a lot of times it's not them, it's their uke.
That's awesome. So a setup fixes those issues and gets you going right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So along those lines, people ask, what ukulele would you recommend? And I'm the worst person to ask because I'm a spoiled brat. I have nice ukuleles and that's what I know. But you see so many instruments all day, every day. What are your recommendations for like a couple different price ranges? If I know it's tricky, but just in general.
Very tricky. Okay. So when you go to buy a ukulele, look, I would love if you just go ahead and buy the most expensive instrument. And there's kind of a thing that goes around on the internet. It's good advice, bad advice. The problem is I'm not a fan of you going into debt to get a good playable ukulele. So there's advice on the internet that's like, somebody told me in order to be a great player, I need to buy the most expensive ukulele that I can afford. And they will plop down $2,000 on their first ukulele, sometimes even paying on payments. And you really don't need to do that you really need a well set up ukulele. And I'm going to be honest, I have seen a $3,000 ukulele with such a bad setup that like it was painful to play. I've done work on them at festivals. I do setups for tips at festivals. And I've been going, dang, you paid how much for this? But they're like, but I needed a nice one because I wanted to be a great player. You can get a starter pack, an Ohana starter pack. They have great frets on them, which that's your bones of your ukulele. That's like your skeleton. They have great frets, they have great necks. And once it's well set up, it's going to be easy to play. Tonally, it's going to be a laminate, so it's going to have a little bit more of that, let's say, Hey Soul Sister sound, the chinka, 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 classic ukulele sound, which number one isn't a bad thing either. It has its own charm in its own way. So when people diss that, I'm like, you're the one who like just played Riptide at me and he's just playing a cheap ukulele. Come on. There's a lot of players, a lot of big bands out there play really cheap ukuleles. They do. And it gives it that little charming whatever. But anyway, so you don't have to pay that much money. Tonally, it's not going to be as warm and rich because it is a laminate, yada, yada, yada. But as long as it's well set up, you can play so easily. You'll know whether or not you like the ukulele. Then you can go and upgrade later once you're used to playing. And then you can always fall back on that beginner one for travel, for loaning it out to your grandkids, things like that. And this is probably such bad advice for me as a retailer. I should tell you to go nicer. But I say start simple and then build upon it as you know what you like. So, I mean, let's talk meat and potatoes. Like you have your soprano, you have your concert, and you have your tenor. I mean, if you want me to be generic, and I hate doing hard and fast rules, so this isn't hard and fast. Smaller hands, soprano concert, bigger hands, concert tenor. But I've seen people with big hands play little sopranos. But if you want to like get into it and you are so boggled by the choices, CK10 Ohana Starter Pack. Laminate ukulele, stable in all sorts of temperature conditions, nice frets, set up by me. If you want to like get a little nicer tone out of it, go ahead and upgrade to Worth Brown strings. And then it comes with a bag and a tuner and a strap and a button. And for like, under $150, you're ready to rock and roll. And then, once you get better, then go ahead and go with something a little bit nicer. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, spend the money if you want. I would love your money. So if you go, ma'am, I know I'm going to like it. I'm already a guitar player. I'm already a musician. Or if you've got a lot of income, please buy an expensive ukulele for me. But please, 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 such bad advice for myself, but good advice for you is don't go into debt for your first ukulele. There's no need. There's absolutely no need. You can be successful and know whether or not you like to play on a cheaper uke.
Cool.
Huh. Now, do we need to go to mid ranges?
No, that's up to you. I like that you have like a hard and fast one that you will go to.
So when it comes to mid-range ukuleles, I like the Opios by Koaloa a lot. They're great. I like any of the satin finishes of the Rebels. I need to get some more of those in. Those are great. I'm kind of lacking, I feel like, a bit in that mid-range as far as like variety because Ohana serves me so well. I've been honest, I've been bitten by a lot of other brands. So what I offer in that price point is very limited because quality is important. Because when you're getting to the $300 to $800 area, your necks have to be good. Like you can maybe ignore that mess if you're only paying up to $200, but I can't. But if you're paying 300, there's some companies that I had to ship too many ukuleles back because I could not have my name attached to that quality. So any of the, what you're getting is your nicer wood Ohanas with unique tone woods, getting into the koas, the cedars, the acacias, any of those, all of them are great. You can never go wrong with the all solid mahogany Ohana. I call it a meat and potatoes uke. Like you're going to get that nice mid-range tone. You're going to get that nice, like warm, rich feel. There's a lot of argument over whether or not ukuleles open up over time, but they seem to like mahogany every time I've owned a mahogany, they just get richer the more and the more I play. Some of that is string settling. I know. Do not blow up the comments about this. But in my experience, over time, my mahoganies start to like just become warmer and richer. And that's very, very satisfying. The Opios, you're just getting into a really nice, lightweight build that's based off the Koaloa model, but it's an import. And it's from Koaloa. And then when you get into the K brands, I mean, I love Koaloa. I really do. And I don't want to seem biased where people are, I don't want it to bite me in the butt later where somebody's like, "Man, you said you like Koaloa. Now you're offering this, this ukulele right now." And so like, why why would I like they'll only want to buy a Koaloa from me, and I don't want that to happen. But if you want to say, "Hey, Mem, what's your favorite?" You can't go wrong with the Koaloa. It's just a nice, lightweight, resonant build. Nice people. Alan called me the other day. So it's got just good juju in there too. But also, yeah, they're just a great build, great feel, warm and rich ukulele. So that never go. You can't go wrong there either.
Nice. Well, I've noticed just as a, music store, hey, I'll try this and see where it's at kind of guy. Like when I was in my teens, I was out actually shopping for ukuleles, and that was kind of the last time that happened. So it's been a super long time. But back then, the mid-range options were pretty hit or miss. Have you noticed like the quality control change over the years?
Yes. And each brand is different. And so that's it. And the problem with hit or miss is I guess I just feel like when you get up to like 500 plus, you really want to take that next step. And I feel like very few brands would be that next step. It more had a name that went along with it or a certain design that went along with it that made it more expensive. And I probably also, I don't know if I shoot myself in the foot because people keep coming back to me because they trust me because I'm really honest. But in some of my mid-range, ukuleles, if I didn't offer somebody that something that was substantially tonally better, like they would not be happy. And so, and I'm doing my best not to name names, but there were certain brands that were not tonally better than an all solid mahogany Ohana. And I hate to keep using that as like my standard, but if you're going to pay $650 for a ukulele that's going to sound more deadened, more thunky, like, it's like thunk, 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 like I have a little bit of synesthesia, so it's really hard when I do podcasts because I want to use my hands a lot to explain tone. But like, I kind of think of it as a box, like tone that doesn't go out because they're overbuilt. They have too much gloss. They have too much binding, or they're a really thick cut of wood, things like that. Then I'm like, well, dang. People would call me up and be like, "Hey, Mem, should I buy this uke for like $600?" And I'm like, "Well, what tone do you want?" "Well, I want warm, rich, full, resonant, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Do you want to just spend $300? Like, go with this. Yeah, it's not as fancy. Yeah, you might not have like this special little inlay or something, but dang, or the name, but it's going to sound really good." So so that's it too, is I have a hard time offering somebody something for a lot more money that looks nice that does not sound nice. Have you ever seen those? Have you ever played one of those?
Yeah, I mean the ones that come to mind are like there's especially here in Hawaii, it's kind of like a hobby to learn to build. Like, oh, I retired, so I'm going to learn to build ukuleles, and everybody does it. And then there's a bunch of like theoretically expensive, nice koa ukuleles floating around, but you play them and it's like, I'm like, oh man, my uncle built this. Isn't it beautiful and awesome? It's like a family heirloom. And it's like, yeah, not that great. So
and then it'll be buzzy or the action will be high, and I'll be like,
yeah, the neck is like not cozy at all. And yeah, That's a local one that we have, but I'm certainly familiar with the idea. Yeah. Well, that's cool, and my impression is that honesty and being able to guide people in that way has been why your business has been so successful over the years.
I
Oh,
hope so.
yeah.
I'd rather be trusted. I also, I, I guess maybe I could be big. I could be bigger. I had a friend once pull me aside. Her like, you could be bigger, and I'm like, I don't know if I want that stress. I'd rather people trust me. Like I make enough to support my family, and I don't want the headache of offering a lot that people will be disappointed with what they buy from me. I don't like returns. I don't like returns. Also, I take things too personally. It's part of my personality too. So if somebody calls me, and I've had this happen where somebody's like, "Ma'am, I cannot believe you you sold me this ukulele. It sounds dead." And I was like, "I'm sorry I took this risk on this new brand, but I knew you really wanted it, and I felt like I've even warned people like, this one doesn't sound as open," and then they'll get it and they'll be like, "It sounds dead." I'm like, "I know, but you said you like the look of it so much that you didn't care." But then when it's bad, it's bad. And oh my gosh. So I guess that's why I'm all in on what I have is I don't want to disappoint people. I'd much rather get the email that goes, "Ma'am, I really love this. I can't believe it was only $250, you know?" So yeah, that's kind of probably part of it too, is I'm too sensitive to offer anything that is going to disappoint people.
That's great. That's a wonderful thing. Interesting though that your friend told you that you could be bigger. That's wild because, like, I don't know, like as sort of a business person, I feel like I'm still trying to grow bigger because I need to pay my bills in a more comfortable manner. But to be in a comfy spot, that's really cool because,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know, we're in an era where we see lots of excess. And like, do you really need that much? And if you're in a place where you've found your niche and you're able to provide that awesome customer service, that's so cool. Good for you.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is though, you live in Hawaii. It's not cheap, and I live in Medizzadan, Virginia, and like my shop is a little house that a company owned that, and I got it for really cheap, and it was drafty and kind of stinky, and and I fixed it up. So I got real lucky too with where I live and the fact that my business, I did have more of a brick and mortar, and it kind of grew out of Charlotte. But part of it is too, I just live in a very affordable area as well. So I don't have to keep like striving to pay my bills as heavily because of where I live. And also because like we got really lucky with, well, we also bought my house and my shop, both fixer upper houses that were astronomically cheap.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think you could buy a studio size house in Hawaii for what I bought my house for. Yeah, so that helps. I mean, to be
Yeah.
honest, but also I got snow and ice outside. You live in paradise,
Well,
so
yeah.
that might make a difference.
So you probably have a pretty good read on like the scene and just from like interest and how many orders are coming in and kind of the general pulse of things. How are you experiencing the current state of ukulele?
Oh, ouch. Okay.
Oh no, is this not a good subject?
All right. Uh, it's not. No, it's a great subject. It's very timely, and it's almost why I went to NAMM this year. I'm going to try to do a little bit more this year of promotion though, because things have slowed down.
Mm.
So I used to post on Instagram all the time and videos all the time. And then I really didn't need to because during COVID, I got really busy because everybody was taking up, ukulele. And then if they got stimulus checks and they didn't need it, they would then like buy like nice ukuleles from me. I was very blessed during COVID, but then it slowed down. And now I think It's like I don't know if I'm too slow or if I got used to like pandemic level of busyness that now I feel like I'm slow, but then I look at my numbers and I'm pre-pandemic numbers,
Hmm.
which isn't horrible. Also, the nature of it has changed because it used to be if you were looking, people want instant gratification. So people go, "Oh, I want to take up the ukulele." Where's the first place they check?
Amazon.
Yes. And then they get a crappy ukulele. And then I even see Facebook Marketplace flooded with them. And they're like, no name, crappy ukuleles. I've worked on them. I know how bad they are. And then, like, even some brands have changed their business models where they've become competitors with their own dealers. Won't name names, but there was once somebody's like, why don't you offer this brand anymore? I'm like, I don't know. Go to their website and type in your email, and you get an instant 15% discount code. And you can essentially buy from them for almost the cost that they do for me. Well, then they go, well, should I do that? And I'm like, well, they're going to take it off the shelf and send it to you. And I don't know what condition their stuff comes in. So, I mean, if you want to take that risk, you can. But unfortunately, you can't get them from me because I could not compete against a brand that I was quite loyal to for some time. So I had to end up not offering them anymore. So yes. So when you say have things changed, absolutely. But I'll tell you, at the NAMM show, I saw Weird Al once. And it was a master class with Weird Al. He did not perform at all. He just answered questions. And one of the things they said was like, it was right when he came out with all these like YouTube videos to promote his album and stuff. And they were asking about the changing state of the music industry and how you don't make money off albums anymore. And he's basically like, I can bellyache and whine and sob, or I can adapt to meet the changing environment. So I am at the point, I'm not desperate yet. So I'm doing this very slowly, but I'm trying to come up with some things to adapt to the changing environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I could scream from the rooftop, stop buying from Amazon. It's a consumerist nightmare, you know. But what's that going to do? It's just going to make me seem like a grumpy mem, and nobody wants that. So instead, you know what? I bought a new camera that I'm talking to you on. I have always, every year, I'm like, my New Year's resolution is I'm going to demo every single Ohana. But then, you know, COVID hit and I never did. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to start demoing every single Ohana, and I'm going to start demoing like not every single one I get in. There's absolutely no way, but where, and you know, I'm their largest dealer. Like if people are going to look at Ohana review, it should be from me. And I'll be honest, you know, except I do love them. But then also the other brands I offer as well, you know. So it's time for me to get my own butt into gear. If I'm worried about it, I could whine and sob, or I can do something. So I'm going to do. And there's something else I've kind of got in the back of my head that I can't share yet. It's not that exciting, but it's just something else I may be doing that'll help as well. So yeah, time to adapt. It'll be all right.
Yeah, we got pretty spoiled in the COVID era with just going gangbusters, and now it's slowed down.
Yes. And there's a lot of people hurting. I don't know if there are. And I hate it because I care about everyone. But most are adapting. So that's the nice thing. As we adapt, we move forward. Yeah. But yeah. Don't buy off Amazon, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I try and encourage people to avoid that at all costs and send them. They ask, where should I buy? Like, well, go to your music store, one. And if you can't do that, then you get one that's already set up by hands that care, such as yourself and Andrew. And yeah, it's just.
And I send people to other, like, if I don't have something they want, I'm not like beyond sending them to like my friends as well. You know, I do the same thing because sometimes people like, I may have to bring them back, but I don't sell baritones right now because they were just making me unhappy. People say, why don't you sell baritones? I'm like, they just made me so unhappy. Because people wanted affordable baritones, and with that scale length, when you get into the affordable cost, if you don't have a truss rod and all that, you get more neck issues. And sometimes I'd set up 4 baritones before I found one I was happy with. And even with truss rods, like people would write me and go, the action's high. And I'm like, it's not high. It's low for a baritone, but you're playing a baritone. And they go, oh, well, this strings sound a little buzzy. And I'm like, they're not buzzy. It's your 2 bass notes are wound, and you didn't upgrade the strings, and so they tend to be a little like twangy, and you're still trying to get a low tone off a short scale. So because they go, my strings are floppy. Yeah, they're going to be. And so it just got to where it was just such a weird thing. I'm like, I am unhappy with baritones. And so during COVID, I cut them out. For the record, it does not mean I don't like them, people. Buy your baritones from other reputable dealers that set them up. But what it was is, for me, in that point in my life, it would ruin my day if I got more than one baritone order. And I was tired of having my day ruined. So, yeah.
Wow.
It's really silly, I know. But, yeah, maybe I'll have to bring them back in this economy. So, yeah.
Well, I've heard, shucks, was it Southern Strings? I can't remember. There's the guy who did the super duper custom string varieties. He had like all the gauges and everything, and he wrote some technical pages on why the baritone tuning is too low for that scale length, and that we should really be tuning our baritones up just a little bit, or at least do the reentrant baritone like James Hill does. And I had never thought about it from a setup standpoint, that it just must be miserable no matter how you cut it.
Well, and it was making people upset with me. And again, I take things too personally. So everybody out there in the world, be nice to NAMM. She's really sensitive. But it's because I actually care too much. Like, I wish I had that more businessman mentality. Like, screw you, I know I'm right. But instead, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry you're disappointed with your baritone, even though I didn't do anything wrong. And it is a baritone. But it just got to where, I was like, I'm tired of people being unhappy, because they come from GCEA, and they were expecting the same feel, tension, and action out of a baritone that they were getting out of a soprano, concert, or tenor. And it was breaking me. It would just ruin my day. Yeah. Isn't that funny? Yeah. So,
they're just kind of flabby. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But I'm not against them, guys, because that's it. As people go, do you hate them? I'm like, no, I don't hate them. I just choose not to be your setup artist for them, because, stressful.
Well, I noticed on your website you mention the theater project and homes for adopted animals. Can you share a bit about those?
Yes. So it first started with I was doing a lot of fostering for a animal rescue. And I failed at it a lot, so I kind of had to stop fostering because I ended up with 10 dogs. And now I'm down to 9. I've done everything from seniors to we've done puppies. We've placed about 300 dogs. So don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't fail that much, but when you do a lot of Chihuahuas, they get very attached to you. So I ended up with just way too many dogs, and a lot of them are small. And then honestly, I need to get down to about 3 dogs. I know that. But then my shop dog passed, Bitsy, and she was with me forever. I got her from the rescue. She bit everybody at the rescue for a year. She only had a itty bitty teeny tiny tail. And so I thought, when people buy a ukulele, like, a lot of times people don't mind like giving a little extra for like a worthy cause. So all that money, once a month, I would total it up and send it over to the rescue for the things that they needed. And even the dog, I know this is audio, I've got a dog on my lap. After my shop dog died, I said, give me the one that bites the most, that you think you can't find a home for, because they bite. And never in my life did I think I wanted a fluffy dog, is what I call them. And I ended up with a Shih Tzu, and she hasn't bit me, but she was a traumatized mess, all matted, nasty. You can find video of her under my TikTok. But now she's my best friend, goes everywhere with me. She was found like stuck in barbed wire, so her tail had to be amputated. They actually had to cut the barbed wire because she was so matted, and then amputate her tail. So she's a Shih Tzu with no tail, which is actually kind of cute because it's just about the size of half my finger and waves back and forth. So we did really good with that, and I have the total of everything that was donated to that on my site. And then I was getting involved a lot. I mean, my kids have always been in this theater program, the June Bug, but then I realized a lot of times, with any nonprofit, they've got a board and things like that. They really do life-changing work within the community. It's really our only nonprofit after-school program, and they provide scholarships for all sorts of STEAM programs as well. So it also, does technology, but then also it's an old Sears and Roebuck. There's a very mountain thing. So I don't even know if this exists in Hawaii, but it used to be Sears and Roebuck had like little satellite stores and for small communities. And so you could go and buy like some appliances, and they're really teeny, and they changed the warehouse area into like a little black box theater. The green room isn't insulated and was like the receiving room at the time. It's just the little engine that could, but very outdated everything. So the soundboard's outdated. The lights are outdated. The electricity flickered this last week, and they're still trying to fix it. Anyway, often I'll see something that the theater needs because I help volunteer. I've been in some plays, but then I also help with youth plays, and they'll need things like microphones, or I bought wireless microphones so far, a soundboard, but I bought it used. So it was only $100. Woohoo! We needed a power soundboard. What else have I bought? I bought a few costumes, some karaoke mics. They aren't for karaoke, but like wireless mics that they now use, things like that. And so what's nice is whenever I see a need within the theater, I don't have to go through the bureaucracy of the board and things like that. I can just use the theater funds. So actually we found that underserved age group right now is that like younger age, and that's when like 6 to 12, and that's when my kids got into it and really got bit by the bug, and we realized there was no place for that. And my daughter, who's 18, who grew up in theater, wants to direct a year with Frog and Toad. So my theater funds are going towards that, and what I'm excited about is that should make some money. Because kids plays do really well. And then that way I'm also taking the theater fund money and we're putting on a production that should make 3 times as much. And so then I can replenish my theater funds pot, but then put the goal is to get an extra $1,000 and put that in to the arts community. So it's really cool because my customers have been really generous. I mean, a lot does still come out of my pocket, but it just makes it a lot easier to serve the community. Somebody the other day just went on my site for Christmas and donated like $60. I was thrilled.
That's awesome.
So it's really cool, but you have to see it to really appreciate it. But it is the little engine that could. We put on some pretty good shows there, but I literally live in a one stoplight town, and it seats like maybe 50 people on a good day. Yeah, wow. It's cute. It's adorable. But sometimes we need new lights and a soundboard. So, yeah.
That's super cool. Super cool. And so folks can just add that to an order?
Yeah. And see, I put it at $3 because I thought, people usually don't mind $3. And it's worked. Like most people just add $3 to their order. Not all the time. Because that's it, is I don't want anybody to feel obligated. It's not a huge thing. Like on my site where like it says, do you want to donate? Before you check out, it's literally a box underneath the item that you click if you want to add Logi, if you want to add strings and da-da-da. But it says, add $3 to the theater fund. And daggone it, if it didn't work. A funny story, though, is when I first added that $3, I was so excited when I got like $27 one day. Like it was the first time like people were using it, and I was like earning money, and I got so excited. I went to show my husband, and my phone fell out of my hand onto gravel and broke, and it cost $400 to repair. So I was so excited over $27 that I cost myself $400.
Oh,
If that doesn't sum up me, all my good deeds go punished. And I just expect it now. It makes it a little bit easier when it happens.
So what are you excited about moving forwards? What is the next step for MIM? You said there's something that you can't share about, but is there
Yeah,
something
I mean,
you
because I don't
can?
know if it's going to happen either. Like, it's going to take a little bit of finagling. What am I excited about? Oh, I'm always excited about the events I do. So I've got Altoona, and I do that every year. And they keep me on my toes because I do not want to be the same act every year. So I always have to learn something new or come up with something new. And I'm a novelty act. So I'm funny and I'm goofy, I hope, and I'm fun. But please do not be prepared to be impressed. That's not the point. I'm too ADHD to sit down and practice and become like a great instrumentalist. And I do not have the voice of an angel, but I'll probably do something stupid that'll make you laugh. So I've got Altoona, and then I've got Morganton right after again, which I'm excited about for the fact that I thought they didn't book me this year. And I was kind of sad. And I think that we may have had like a casual conversation where they said, "Are you up for next year?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And so they announced me, even though I thought I wasn't booked. So I'm thrilled. Yay, because I'm going back. And that's in North Carolina, and that's going to be around where the flooding, there's a lot of flooding in that town with Asheville and stuff like that. So I'm glad that they're still in a position to kind of get together and have this ukulele festival. And then it hasn't been finalized, but what I'm excited about is I picked up a new one for this year. So that should be in the fall, but I'll have to announce that later because I never count my chickens before they hatch, but I'm 95.3% sure it's going to happen. And then, though it's not this year, 2026, I'm going back to the Ukulele Festival of Great Britain. So, which is awesome.
Fun.
And that's really fun. So I guess I should say, like, the exciting, I'm keep on keeping on. I may have one exciting thing that'll be new. And then I got this new camera, so I hope to do more videos. And also, if I can get this set up properly, then I'm hoping to be able to also do, like, I'll set aside one day a week for like video consultations so people can make an appointment, and it'll be like they're visiting my shop without visiting my shop. And I think that'll be really fun as well. So yeah, but my gigs keep me excited because when you say, what are you excited about? Setting up ukuleles, don't get me wrong, I'm very passionate about what I do, but it is the same old every single day. So you do have to realize people go, "Oh, you've got the coolest job ever." And I'm like, yes and no, because a lot of it is just me by myself in my shop setting up ukuleles all day. That's not very fun. I mean, it's fun. It's satisfying, but it's not like I'm like jet setting around the world, entertaining people. But those little spots of time when I get to entertain people really help me to connect back to the community, which is something that I need personally, is to see my friends. So the fact that I get to see my friends 3 times this year make me excited. Hey, and if anybody out there wants a nice, fun novelty act or a dang good MC, hit me up. Because that's also love doing that. That's what I do for Ukulele Festival Great Britain is IMC. And that is a blast because it's also a puzzle, and I'm ADHD, so it's a puzzle of getting acts on stage and working with your stage manager. And my daughter got to stage manage with me the last time, but it's working with your stage manager to just kind of put that puzzle together of like acts on stage, like filling in just enough time and then getting them on and things like that. So it was a neat challenge, but I was excited because it went really well. So if you need an MC for anything that also performs, let me know. I love it. We have a good time.
That's great. Very cool. Well, reached the end of my list of questions I had off the top of my head. Is there anything else you'd like to share with folks?
Anything I want to share? Adopt dogs. I promise it's worth it. Even if you think they're bitey and they're horrible, give them a couple months. Because trust me, this one that's on my lap right now has done obnoxious things. Support your local theater programs because I've seen it do so much good for so many, particularly shy teenagers or teenagers that need that extra support, or kids, or even adults, you know? Let me think what else. Uh, Enjoy playing ukulele. Don't get hung up on perfection, comparison, or having your ukulele be absolutely perfect because you can spend more time online researching your next ukulele you're going to buy when you could be playing. That being said, if you're hankering for a new ukulele, memsukes.com. And also be careful of sure facts on the internet that are just opinions of people. We didn't get into that, but you can go and ask, should I get low G or high G? And you are going to get some judgment. You can say to put a button on my uke or not, and you will get some judgment. And you know what? Guess who's right? None of them. Because you know who's going to be right? You are. If you need a strap for your ukulele, you don't need to explain it to me or to anybody else. You just get those buttons that you need. If you need, if you want a low G for the tone, go for it. Things like that. Because I think a lot of people get hung up on what people say on the internet. I've had people write me and say, well, some person on the internet told me that I had to have this or do this way or buy this exact like ukulele. People have opinions, but also keep in mind that sometimes people's opinions can be very small as to what they buy. So there's some people that will recommend ukuleles online that I'm a little shocked that they're recommending because I know the quality of them, because I have looked at them at festivals and I know if they tend to have twisted necks and yada, yada, yada. But what it is nobody wants, if they have one ukulele that they bought off Amazon, and everybody's going to love their ukulele. They just are. They're going to have very biased views. So just keep that in mind. That just because somebody is really sold on one kind of ukulele doesn't mean like it's the best in the world. It just may be all that they've been exposed to.
That's super good advice.
Yeah, because I've seen, like I say, I'm trying not to name names, but like there's somebody's like, oh, I love my blank. And I'm like, and they're like, buy it. It's great. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And I've had mine for a month. And that's why, like, oh, also, this is my other advice I give to people that might be handy for your podcast. If you are new, find other people to play with. You do not have to be good. You actually could be absolutely horrible or know nothing about the ukulele. But if you can get together with different groups that are playing, the ukulele jam culture, at least on the mainland, I don't know if it's this way in Hawaii since more people play and there's a lot more skilled players. But like people get together and they'll play like songs and everybody's singing along and everybody's playing so loud that if you're not very good, they don't hear you. But as you start playing with other people, you'll get better. So I've also heard people go, I just can't get strum patterns down. I'm like, play with other people and just strum along because they really won't hear you if you're strumming bad. But eventually you'll start kind of like mimicking their groove and you'll get it in no time. So find yourself a local group and play with other people, or go to a ukulele festival, play with other people. Most ukulele players are not turds. So they will teach you and welcome you into the group and you will find like new friends. I actually told a customer the other day, I'm like, oh, you're from this area. I'm going to be in Altoona, but you should go because even if you're brand new, people will sit down next to you and help you through the process. PD Mac's going to be at that one. He is great for beginners, and advanced alike, but he's great for like that jam, like welcoming environment. He's got a lot of online resources as well, and like a songbook. So, get out there and get part of the community if you can, because you'll make friends, but then also you'll get better because of the people that are around you.
Cool. Well, I want to go back to one thing because I got one more question. You've been doing this for like 15 years or something like that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, who, me?
Yeah. If when you go to trade shows and you see these ukuleles that you're like, I don't know, how soon after you pick it up do you know that it's garbage? Like, can you feel it? Do you even have to look down the neck?
Usually from the first strum. Also, though, I bring a fret rocker with me, which...
I'm sure they love that.
Oh, they hate that. And I had one brand once that, because this is it, it's just because people offer ukuleles, and this may shock you, doesn't mean that they're technicians and know actually how to properly. All right. So imports particularly can be very incestuous. Oh, now I'm going to tell you real good tea. Some of them come from the exact same factory. There was one brand that was founded because the guy worked for another brand, took all the contacts, left, and started his own brand. Same factories and everything, just a little bit of different appointments. I'm just saying. So a lot of times they're just kind of relying on the work other people have done, and then they come in and then they send them out and just hope they're good. But yeah, so I'll bring a fret rocker too if I need to. So if it's all right, so first I look, if it looks good, yeah, like whatever. But I usually pick it up, and from first, you kind of know from first strum. A lot of these pretty ukes have this heavy gloss on it. Do you know what I'm talking? All right, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but where it's almost sticky. Mm-hmm. You almost feel like if you get a corner and pick it up, it'll peel. It has a different feeling than like the Ohana glosses. It's very sticky. And I'm not going to say the brands, but if I even just touch that, I know what it feels like. And when I say sticky, it's not overly sticky. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just this little anyway, I just know. And I know what factory it's from and everything. And so usually from first strum. And then if I kind of like the sound of it, then I'll take a fret rocker to it, because I want to know now, because I've been bit in the butt so many times, what your brand of ukulele is going to need for me when it goes out. So I had one brand that I literally was afraid that I was like, I only have a few more years left in me. I'm going to have to figure out another job, because I was starting to get such severe arthritis issues. I had creams, I had arthritis gloves, everything. Stopped offering that brand, and my hands cleared up, because their frets were so unlevel, and I level them like kind of one at a time. It's a very meticulous process, but theirs were so bad I'd have to put so much pressure, it was hurting my joints. So I don't want to do that again. So then I'll check. And I had one brand once that he's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I said, well, it's not going to be a problem for you, because your brand looks really pretty on the wall, and you're marketing to these mom and pop shops. So you're I call it, you're selling to the crows, or you're selling to the bats. Crows like shiny things. So they'll go, ooh, like burnt images of things around the sound hole, and are really nice gloss with this abalone, and they buy it for the look. I sell to the crows, the people who are expecting a certain sound. So it can look as pretty as you want, but it's got to sound good for me. Now, when pretty and sound good meet, chef's kiss. Love it, love it, love it. But that's not always the case. I had one booth I went up to, strum that sucker, and it sounded like that sound never came out of the body. It just kept rattling around in there because it had such a thick gloss. And they were not approaching me at this booth, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then finally I saw one of them lean over to the other one and explain my Instagram following. And then suddenly they were interested, because they didn't want dealers. They wanted influencers. And there's a lot of people who sell their soul for a free ukulele.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Hey, everybody, look at this ukulele I've got right now. Look how pretty it is. Oh, man, I'm just going to love this ukulele forever. And so if you go to www.blahdblah.com and put in discount code like, I love my ukulele. You'll get 10% off. And I'll get 10% in my pocket. And nobody is the wiser. So just keep in mind that the influencer culture, too, there are some people who will sell their soul for a free ukulele. Oh my gosh, that's going to be a hot take. I'm sorry.
It's so good. This is what we do on the podcast. Is we talk about what we think is interesting, and if other people like it, they can come along for the ride.
I know, but I'm afraid he's going to be like, ma'am, I don't want to make any enemies out there. I only have one. But he started it. So yeah, so like I don't want to make any enemies. And this is it. Those, I mean, and I do get the influencer model. It works. Just be a little skeptical because people will say they like things for something free. Yeah, is what I found. Yeah.
Yeah, James Hill told me a long time ago, he said, buy all your ukuleles.
Yeah.
It's like, don't go for sponsorships. Buy them all so you are in control.
And you know what? Yes. And he's a very upright guy that has a stellar reputation of being trusted in the ukulele community for that reason. And I've even had one artist reached out to me. I won't say who because it's their story, but it was very nice because they said, hey, I just got this as a sponsorship ukulele. I'm not happy with it. I think this is wrong with it. This is wrong. Is this something that you've seen with this brand? And I'm like, I don't. Yes, I have. And, and I'm like, so this would be very typical of somebody who, orders from this brand. And they said, then I will not offer this brand because I do not want like my name attached and then people be disappointed with the product that they get, which I think is just the right and moral way to be. Yeah. So.
Well, this has been super awesome. I really appreciate your insight and everything. mimsukes.com, is that the best place for people to find you? Where else are you at?
Yeah, mimsukes.com, mimsukes.com. On all the social platforms, mimsukes, mimsukes.com. I'm hoping if they do not ban TikTok, but if they do ban TikTok, I'll do it on other platforms. Oh, that's the other thing is I may be doing like a little learning series that may ruffle a few feathers, but it may not. Just because it's geared towards beginners with crutches. And some people go, do not like give someone a crutch or they'll never learn properly. But sometimes I'm of the feeling that if a crutch can make someone feel successful, then they will be motivated to learn properly. I've seen that happen in my life with I teach people to play ukulele in 10 minutes at different local events. And you can just see like something click in people's head when crutches are given. And it almost helps that I'm not a really good teacher and I'm not somebody who like knows a lot about like music theory. So I teach it on a very ADHD level, like in, out, blah. But it's just a way to get people like started and enthusiastic using more unexpected songs like AJR, and like Bruno Mars, that kind of thing. It's fun. So hopefully I'll be doing that too. So keep an eye on my socials because hopefully I'll be doing some new things this year. Men's Ukes on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, though I don't know what I'm doing with that. And I'll be hopefully YouTube. Yeah, all that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mim.
You're welcome. This was fun.
I had such a nice time talking to Mim. Really appreciate the time that she gave to me. And because after we hung up on what you've heard, put away the recording stuff, we talked for another hour, just kind of getting to know each other and talking business and talking story. And I really enjoyed the opportunity and all of her insight and just the general kindness I felt talking with Mim. So thank you, Mim. And hopefully our paths will cross soon and we can meet in person sometime. Not that I ever go to the mainland, but someday these things will come to pass. But you can check out mimsukes.com to see what kind of ukuleles she has on offer. Check out some of the backstory and setup information. And it's a really nicely put together website. And also Mims Ukes on some of the different social medias, Facebook, Blue Sky. Gonna be YouTube, it sounds like, I think. Once again, want to remind you about Fretboard Mastery for Uke. You can go to liveukulele.com/fretboard to register for free for that one. All I require is an email to sign up, and you make a little account on liveukulele.com. If you've bought anything from me in the past, you can just sign in with your previously used login credentials, and then you just click the button and you'll be registered and can go check out that material, learn how to practice your way up and down the fretboard through all the scales, through all the different fingerings. And then also keep an eye out for Plug In, which will be coming out at the end of the month. Best way to find out about that, I'll also be sending out some information on fretboard mastery at some point, is to join my newsletter. You'll also hear about some things on the podcast, so you can certainly subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. But the best way to stay in touch is liveukulele.com/sign up and get on my newsletter list. Thanks so much for tuning in. Once again, my name is Brad Bordessa. You're listening to the Live Ukulele podcast, which is published on the first and third Saturdays of every month. Had a nice discussion with Maya the other day, and that'll be coming up next month. And my friend Joey Bradley just bugged me the other day. He was like, hey, we should do a podcast on singing. I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So I got to set that up. That might be a fun thing to dive into. Bring some vocal tips to our ukulele crowd here on the podcast. So stay subscribed, stay tuned in, and I'll catch you next time on the Live Ukulele podcast. Ahui ho.